Next, we're going to look at basically some little directions here. Absolute value equations, what we want to do is we want to get our absolute value by itself first. So that means if anything's on the outside that's being added or subtracted, multiplied or divided by our absolute value, we need to get rid of that by undoing it using the inverse operations. We actually have three different types of solutions for an absolute value equation. If it's equal to a positive, we're going to set what's inside the absolute value equal to the number and its opposite. So we'll actually get two solutions for this. Oh, and we're going to solve. And then if it's equal to 0, set what's inside the absolute value equal to 0. So here you only get one solution, where here you'll end up with two solutions. However, one thing you need to know is this one over here. If your absolute value is equal to a negative, that is not possible. Remember, absolute value is a measure of distance, and therefore there is no way that the absolute value of something could be negative. So make sure you're aware of that. Don't waste your time on problems if you get it set equal to a negative by solving the problem out, because you're finding basically stuff that doesn't work. So no solution. Make sure you remember that. All right, here's our last example of absolute value. As you can see, we have 5 absolute value of 1 minus 4x, and then minus 15. So what I want to do is I want to get my absolute value by itself. If you don't do that, you could easily look at this problem and say, hey, it's equal to 0, there's one solution. But make sure you get your absolute value by itself, because that may not be the case when we get our absolute value isolated. So we added 15 first, and then what we're going to do is we're going to divide both sides by 5. And we get the absolute value of 1 minus 4x is equal to 3. So at this point in time, now we have our absolute value isolated. So what we're going to do now is we're going to set what's inside our absolute value equal to 3, and also what's inside our absolute value equal to its opposite. So we'll say 1 minus 4x is equal to 3. And then, or we could also have 1 minus 4x equal to negative 3. Again, that's really the opposite of this, but when you multiply both sides by negative 1, it looks like that. At this point in time, we can go ahead and subtract 1 from each of these. And I'll get negative 4x. Here is equal to 2. And then here I'll get negative 4x is equal to negative 4. I can then go ahead and divide both sides by negative 4. When I do that, I'll get x is equal to negative 1/2. We can divide this by negative 4. And then over here, you'll get x is equal to a positive 1. Again, just plug your answer back in to make sure it works. When you plug it in here, you get a nice little 2. The absolute value of, or 1 plus 2 will give us 3. The absolute value of 3 is 3. 5 times 3 is 15. 15 minus 0 works. Or 15, yeah, 15 minus 15 is 0. When you plug in 1, you'll get negative 4, so that'll be the absolute value of negative 3, which is 3 times 5 is 15. 15 minus 15 is 0 also, so that one works.